How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Good Chronic Convos. My name is Siphon, and I got an episode for you guys today. Oh my goodness, I got an episode for you guys today. I made sure to like the episode before I brought it to you guys, so I know it's a good episode for sure. Anyways, outside of that, as we always do on this channel, it's about that time. It's time to get our bongs, get our blunts, get our spliffs, get our vapes, grab our coffee, grab our OJ, take this hit, and it's time to get into the show. So, I'm gonna go ahead, take my hit, and when I get back, I'm gonna do things a little differently this time, because I got something of an article for you guys. So, when I get back, we'll get into that article, and then we'll get into the videos. So, here we go. I'll be back. Oh. So, as I said, before we get into the videos today, I have a little article here that I want to go over with you guys, and it's kind of gonna go over what we're gonna see in the videos. So, the article is from Al Jazeera, and the title of the article is Burkina Faso, Mali warn against military intervention in Niger. So Burkina Faso and Mali warn against military intervention in Niger. In Niger, sorry. If you don't know what is going on in Niger right now, there is a coup going on, and let's get into this. So, the military governments of Burkina Faso and Mali have warned that any military intervention against last week's coup leaders in Niger would be considered a declaration of war against their nations. Niger's neighbors issued the warning in joint statements read out on their national broadcasters on Monday, days after West African leaders threatened to use force to reinstate Niger's deposed President Mohamed Bazoum. So, there was a lot of, I guess you could say, rejection after Bazoum became the president. So, it's quoted here: the transitional governments of Burkina Faso and Mali expressed their fraternal solidarity to the people of Niger, who have decided with full responsibility to take their destiny in hand and assume the fullness of their sovereignty before history, the military governments of the two countries said. Any military intervention against Niger would be tantamount to a declaration of war against Burkina Faso and Mali. They warned, adding that such a move could result in disastrous consequences that could destabilize the entire region. The Burkinabe and Malian military authorities also said they refuse to apply the illegal, illegitimate, and inhumane sanctions against the people and authorities of Niger. The coup in Niger on July 26 has sent shockwaves across West Africa, pitting the country's former Western allies and regional bodies against other countries in the region. Niger's coup leaders have named General Abdurrahman Chiani, the former presidential guard chief, as head of state. Said they overthrew Bazoum over poor governance and discontent with the way he handled security threats from groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS or ISIL. The power grab, which marks the seventh military takeover in less than 3 years, in West Africa and Central Africa drew immediate condemnation from the African Union. The United States, the United Nations, the European Union, and other powers. Regional bloc ECOWAS has imposed sanctions, including a halt in all financial transactions and national assets freeze. It also said it could authorize force to reinstate Bazoum, who observers believe is being held at his house in the capital, Niamey. So this is interesting in the sense of ECOWAS saying that they would impose sanctions upon Niger and the countries that I guess basically support Niger. This and the organizations named above, so like the African Union, the United States, the United Nations, the European Union, and other powers, and will also include the ECOWAS regional bloc as one of them as well, imposing sanctions. It kind of says a lot about who ECOWAS and the African Union actually are. So, continually in the article, in addition to Burkina Faso and Mali, Guinea's President Mamadi Doumbouya, whose government was also the result of a coup, also expressed disagreement with the sanctions recommended by ECOWAS, including military intervention. So, as you can see, I'm not too interested in the fact that, I'm not too happy about the fact that ECOWAS is stating that they're going to impose sanctions. I think that's pretty redundant, especially seeing as what ECOWAS is seemingly supposed to represent, right? I mean, anyways, we'll get into ECOWAS some other day. Today is about what's going on in Niger. So, as well, the article continues. In a social media post on Monday, Doumbouya's office said the sanctions are options that would not be a solution to the current problem, but would lead to a humanitarian disaster whose consequences could extend beyond the borders of Niger. Which I could agree with. I can agree with, because a lot of times these kinds of problems do tend to spill over into the borders of neighboring nations. So, Doumbouya's office also said it had decided not to apply these sanctions, which it considers illegitimate and inhumane, and urged ECOWAS to reconsider its position. ECOWAS, reconsider your position. The expressions of support from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea came as Niger's military attempted to consolidate its coup by arresting top officials of the toppled government. The mines minister, oil minister, and head of the ruling party were among those taken into custody on Monday, according to Bazoum's PNDS party. The coup leaders had previously arrested the interior minister, transport minister, and former defense minister. The party said, dang, they went in. They arrested everybody. Nice, okay. And they're taking it, and they're taking the country into their own hands and trying to actually make it something that they want it to be. Meanwhile, a U.S. official on Monday said the coup had not been fully successful, that there was still an opportunity to reinstate Bazoum, who was the first Nigerian president to be democratically elected through the peaceful transition of power. Nigerian president to be democratically elected through a peaceful transition of power. France, Niger's former colonial ruler, and Germany echoed those comments. So, of course, France and Germany are echoing those comments, and they don't want to have they don't want to have the current military head as the leader of Niger. They want the president that they helped get into office in that time of or transition of peace. Earlier on Monday, the coup leaders in Niger alleged that Bazoum's government had authorized a French attack on the presidential palace, a claim Paris has denied. Anti-French sentiments have helped stoke ongoing pro-coup protests outside Paris's embassy in Niamey, where demonstrators could be heard chanting, "Long live Russia" and "Down with France." International observers fear the instability in Niger could create an opportunity for organizations like the Wagner Group, a private mercenary company based in Russia. Wagner's leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, spoke approvingly about the coup over the weekend, saying the situation had been brewing for a while. The former colonizers are trying to keep the people of African countries in check, he added in his audio message on the Telegram app. His statements, however, struck a stark contrast with that of the Kremlin in Russia, which called the situation in Niger a cause for serious concern. So, the article is done, and basically, as you guys are hearing, there is a coup in Niger, and basically, with what's happening, the Western powers are trying to reinstate Mohamed Bazoum as the president, and the African nations, it seems, outside of the ECOWAS body, it seems that the other nations are in support of Niger. So this is really important right now, and I think that it's time that everybody sees what's truly going on in the world, and what's actually happening, because we don't get that news over here. We're not being told like what's really going on and so forth. And so in this series of videos, I want to call it the African comeback. The African comeback story. And actually not the African, but Africa's comeback story. Because I think what's happening right now, and the fact that we can actually go online and see what's going on, I think that's important, and I think that our freedom to be able to do that is also important, and to be able to expose it and share it and be able to communicate it, I think that's important as well. So let's get right into these videos, and I hope you're ready for tonight, because these are good.
Your problem is that you are saying you don't want colonialism, but you embrace the borders that were brought by colonialism here. Amen. There were no borders here. They don't have borders in Europe. But when it comes to us, they say, no, you must have borders. Why? The division of Africa is what makes them thrive. They thrive on the division of the African continent. Can you imagine the minerals of DRC combined with the minerals of South Africa, and with a new currency based on the minerals? What we can do to the dollar if we become a United States of Africa with our minerals alone? We can collapse the dollar. We can collapse the strong pound that is based on gold, yet they don't have a gold mine. So why do you allow such things? Your problem.
And it started. So, this is Julius Malema, and as you can see, he's making a lot of sense, especially with what he's talking about in terms of if Africa literally united and put all of its currency under and backed their currency to the minerals in the ground. It's like, and he said it best, DRC and South Africa, I believe alone, with what they have in terms of minerals and resources, the West can't play with that. None of those European nations can play with that. On to the next one.
They are arresting European nationals in Niger Republic. You heard what I said? The military coup leader of Niger Republic have announced that all European nationals that are still in their country should be arrested. Now let me show you guys something, right? Breaking news. The new Nigerian government have ordered the armed forces to arrest any European nationals still in their country until France and other Western power agree to withdraw their military forces from Niger. Can you imagine? So currently as we speak, all European nationals that are still in Niger Republic are being arrested and forward for prosecution. Guys, what are your thoughts? Drop a comment respectfully.
So so as you can see, all European nationals are being basically told GTFO H, because they're not wanted in that country at this time, especially with what's going on in there and with the rebuilding of that nation. It's gonna take them to rebuild it. So you guys tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. This is amazing stuff. Niger, of all the countries in the world, of all the countries in Africa that I would have expected to be doing this, I never would have expected it from Niger. And not because Niger is a small country or whatnot. Nah, it's because simply you don't hear of it. A lot of these things are very internal, so you don't hear much of it. At least that's how it is on the west side. So on the western part of the world, we don't hear much about them at all. On to the next one. So France suspended aid to Niger after the coup. Niger responded by suspending the export of gold and uranium to France. So France suspended aid to Niger after the coup, and Niger said, yeah, keep your aid. And they responded by suspending the export of gold and uranium. Yeah. Well, we condemn every form of coup. These soldiers have guts, and I like guts. Yep, they got guts, alright. They do. You guys tell me, what do you guys think of that? That's how Niger is deciding to respond to France. And this is amazing in my opinion, just because Niger is a former colony of France. I believe France and Germany, but France in particular they just don't know how to maintain relationships with people. They're rude, they're obnoxious, they're snooty, and it's like it trickles down from the government and just like ever so much and goes down towards all like the people. And you speak to a lot of people in France or people from France, and they have that. There's this air about them, especially when they're white. So, hey, kudos to Niger. Yeah, you don't want to give us our money back? Alright, well, we ain't gonna give you the shit that you need to have any money to give us in the first place. Yeah, go. Alright.
What's a historical fact that you had to learn on your own and not in school?
So I recently visited some of the slave castles in Ghana, and I was sick to my stomach. About 100 to 150 people were forced into these slave dungeons. Once they reached the slave dungeons, the human waste that they had to sit in and stand in was about knee deep. And when I say human waste, I mean the poop, the pee, the throw up, the blood, the menstrual blood. All of that they had to stand in, and everything else that comes out of the human body. Not only that, they had to breathe in and inhale all of those toxins because there was no ventilation in those dungeons. Mind you, they weren't just sitting in there for days or maybe weeks. They were sitting in there for up to 3 months straight. The conditions were so bad that even as I stood there hundreds of years later, I can still smell the human waste. I mean, I was sick to my stomach. Y'all, was people up in there coughing. Those tiny little lines up there, those are not carvings done by an object. Those were done by people's nails digging into the stone wall because they were trying to desperately escape the death dungeon. Men who fought back were put into those death dungeons, and let's say they put about 10 of those men in that death dungeon. They wouldn't pull out the dead bodies until the last person died. That skull and that X represented death. It meant once you went in there, you were not coming back out alive. And also, there were churches built up over these slave dungeons, and as women and men were screaming, these so-called holy people were sitting above them worshiping God. Not only that, they specifically put these churches over the dungeons to represent heaven and HE double hockey sticks. Part 2 will be coming up because what they did to the women was disgusting.
Yo. Oh man, I know this is supposed to be Africa's comeback, but damn, that's fucked up. Holy shit. That is fucked up. And I'm pretty sure it was very similar in many places, in many different places where they had slave castles and dungeons and shit like that. I know that in Zanzibar they have very similar a very similar place. So Zanzibar is off the coast of Tanzania. So if you ever wanna do a visit, I mean, it's also one of the, if not the most beautiful place on earth. Anyways, if you ever want to visit, go and check that place out. It's a great place. And they have same deal. It's on the east side of Africa, so same deal. They got, you know, bunch of resorts and all that, and then they have the slave castles and dungeons and all these places where they held slaves back when slavery was going on. And check it out. Anyways, on to the next one.
France, the neo-colonizer, has started evacuating its citizens from Niger to France, while the socialist states, military dictatorships of Mali and Burkina Faso totally backs Niger, saying that one attack on Niger is a declaration of war against Mali and Burkina Faso. Niger has opened up its borders to Algeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, Libya, and Chad, ripping apart those colonial lines that are drawn during the scramble of Africa, 1885 to be exact. What about Algeria? They say they don't want any military intervention in Niger, but condemn the coup and back the sitting president of Mohamed Bazoum, essentially showing that Algerian government is a puppet state controlled by the West. What about the African Union, the great Pan-Africanist? They condemned the military coup. What about ECOWAS, the great cooperation of West Africa? They threatened military intervention in Niger. So now you can draw your conclusion of who controls African Union and ECOWAS. What are my thoughts on this? We're essentially seeing a bottom-up socialist revolution in the Sahel region. Yeah, this is the real socialism that the West is afraid of and bans from all economic universities, where people rise up from the bottom, unite against the imperialist elite that exploit the resources, saying, these resources are ours, the people's. The woke left BS you see from America, the most capitalist country in the world, that has nothing to do with socialism. This is the real deal. Wonder what China and North Korea are feeling when they see this, as they have gone through exactly the same process. France.
It's interesting that he even says China and North Korea. But outside of that, you heard it here. You heard it here. This is exactly what's going on. So go do some research on those borders and who made them, because it wasn't us. It wasn't Africans. But this is so beautiful to see. This is so beautiful to see because it's our people rising up and fighting back, and this time not just fighting back against their neighbor or some jungle bush warlord or some shit. Nah, this is them fighting up against other nations around, but also in particular and especially the colonizer. And I say the colonizer because they are economically colonized, and so is most of the rest of the world. We're all economically dominated by this weirdo called America. I mean, I'm not from a better country anyways, so at least I'm not in a better country at this moment. So anyways, let's keep going on with the videos. As you can see, they're getting more and more intense here.
And it escalates as Niger's new military leaders have reportedly suspended, get this, all exports of uranium and gold to France, which relies on resources very, very heavily from the West African country. Let's shed some light on this with RT contributor Rachel Marston.
Where would the coup leaders in Niger possibly get the idea that France had any interest whatsoever in intervening in its former colony? Well, it might have something to do with a statement that was put out by the French presidential palace, the Élysée, on Sunday that read, quote, anyone attacking French nationals, the army, diplomats and interests would see France respond immediately and intractably. And by French nationals, they mostly just mean one guy named Mr. Uranium, because Niger is France's top supplier of it, providing 15% of its total supply and a fifth of the European Union's. And the mineral is absolutely critical to power France's nuclear reactors. You see, France's energy independence is ironically very dependent on Niger, which would explain why French President Emmanuel Macron sounded awfully angry about something happening a whole continent away.
Anyone attacking French nationals, the army, diplomats, and rights of way would see France respond immediately and intractably. The President of the Republic will not tolerate any attack against France and its interests.
Yeah, those French interests would certainly include uranium. And now we've been hearing multiple Western press reports that the military junta, now in charge, has cut off exports of both uranium and gold to France, and that comes as really bad timing for Paris, which has become even more reliant on its nuclear power plants after cutting itself off from Russian gas with the rest of the EU to impress Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, in kind of the same way that college party guys work themselves into a frenzy and do dumb things like jump off a roof to impress girls. Germany is already on the verge of deindustrializing because Europe's economic engine can't run on wind and sun. Who knew? Apparently not Berlin. But at least France had not completely bought into Berlin's green fantasies and mothballed all their nuclear power plants, although Macron was certainly heading in that direction. So plan B after the Russian gas cutoff was to power them back up. But now Niger has suspended the export of the uranium that they require with the immediate effect. But hey, no problem though, right? Because France has other suppliers like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, except who largely controls the transport of those to Europe? Russia's nuclear giant Rosatom. Whoops.
Well. Look at what we got here. Remember that post we were laughing at earlier where it said France decided to suspend aid to Niger, and then Niger decided to respond by suspending the export of gold and uranium. Well, ta-da! That's what happens. And in Europe's finest hour here, they cut off their own power supply. That has to be like top 10 most absurd things that you could do. They basically cut off their own power supply. Their power supply then I apparently got bombed, and then they decided that okay, they would turn their power back on, and then they decided that in order to do so, they need to continue to get the exports of. And did you hear that figure just now? 1/5 of all European nations get their uranium from Niger. 1/5 of, no, not 1/5 of all. 1/5 of uranium, whatever. I think you get what I'm trying to say. Basically, this is insane. 1/5 of Europe's uranium supply comes from Niger, which is utterly insane. And then for that to be topped off with France taking 15%, is it France or was it Germany? One of those two countries taking 15% of their uranium supply from Niger. And I mean, in terms of, let's say, like proximity and stuff like that, they do want that uranium, right? So, and the fact that France can say that they will intervene and act and do this and that because of their interests, you need to really go and reassess how you look at your interests if it means that you're going to try and take people's lives and have taken people's lives from your interests. So hey, let's go on to the next one.
Next 2 weeks,
Shit got real, guys.
we've been warned. There's going to be dark.
So
Next 2 weeks,
Shit got real, guys.
we've been warned. There's going to be
Sorry.
darkness.
It just got real.
We're almost at a point of grid collapse.
Yo,
It's a reality that South Africans must know,
the embarrassment.
that we're heading to darkness, and ANC politicians are continuing business as usual, as if we are not in a crisis.
The embarrassment.
We are in a deep crisis. Cell phone networks will not work. Water, even if we have it, we won't receive it because it needs electricity.
Meaning
nothing is going to function. We're heading for a disaster worse than what COVID was.
Yo.
No one will go to work. The dead will have to be buried the same day because there will not be fridges to keep them.
Oh my gosh.
No generator is meant to operate 24 hours.
I can't even afford generator.
Generator is an intervention for a short while. Even those who have generators will not be saved from the mess we are going into. We want you. We went to the streets because we knew this was coming. History will absolve us. We were called names, were ridiculed, were insulted. Police and the army were called on us for trying to protect us from where we are. They are just calling it stage 10 for nice word. The reality is that it's darkness. And it's not going to be darkness of 12 hours or 24 hours it comes back. No. At times it's going to take 3 to 4 days. At times it will take a week. At times it will take a month without electricity. The whole leadership must go next 2 weeks.
And that's in South Africa. He is right though. Big things are coming. Change is coming. You guys tell me what you think in the comments down below.
So meantime, Niger's new military leaders have reportedly suspended all exports of uranium and gold to France, which relies heavily on resources from the West African country. Let's learn a few more details, even discreet ones as well. Here's RT contributor Rachel Marston.
Where would the coup leaders in Niger possibly get the idea that France had any interest whatsoever in intervening in its former colony? Well, it might have something to do with a statement that was put out by the French presidential palace, the Élysée, on Sunday that read, quote, anyone attacking French nationals, the army, diplomats and interests would see France respond immediately and intractably.
I think this is that same video that we watched earlier, but yeah, we know what happens here. This is... it says here, upset Macron threatens fire and brimstone. Macron can go and suck a dick. Anyways, on to the next one.
$15,000 for South African visa? Oh yes, the South African government have announced that effectively August 1st, 2023, all United States and British passport holder will now pay $15,000 for tourist visa. And the funny part is that the $15,000 does not necessarily guarantee you visa. The $15,000 is just the visa fees. You will pay the $15,000 online and attend a visa interview at the nearest South African embassy in your city. When you do not meet the criteria to be granted visa, your $15,000 is non-refundable. Really? So that means before you can enter into South Africa as an American or a British, you will have to pay $15,000. Is South Africa driving Americans and British people out of their country? Because that amount is too much and the amount is non-refundable. So guys, drop a comment respectfully. Do you think other...
Oh man, so that's actually hilarious, because if you know anything about getting a visa to come to Canada or the United States or to go to the UK or any of those Western European nations or anything like that from Africa, What he's saying here, the $15,000, yeah, that happens. People who have literally nothing, that have saved up every little penny for their entire freaking lives, end up going and paying fees like that just to get here, where they still have nothing and have to make something of themselves in order to get something, in order to go be able to even say they can go back to visit. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's abhorrent. Hey, it is what it is, right? But this goes to show you, African giant was sleeping. Now you got him stretching his legs. What's gonna happen next when he sits up?
The North Korean President Kim Jong-un has called on the Nigerian President and ECOWAS not to send military troops into Niger Republic. According to the North Korean President Kim Jong-un, he said if there is a crisis in Niger Republic, there should be a peaceful and diplomatic proposal instead of sending your own people to kill your own people. The North Korean president further went ahead to say that the United States and the West are now using common sense to drag Nigeria and ECOWAS into war among themselves. And the North Korean president further went ahead to say that he stands with Niger Republic, Mali, Burkina Faso, and La Guinea. So if there should be any military intervention from ECOWAS or the West in Niger Republic, he, Kim Jong-un, is going to back Niger Republic. These are brand new Korean-made intercontinental ballistic missiles. According to the North Korean President Kim Jong-un, he said this missile can wipe the entire Nigeria or even Africa off the map. So therefore, if ECOWAS go ahead to invade Niger, he's going to send these intercontinental ballistic missiles to back Niger. According to him, he said anything that has to do with destroying America and the West, he want to be at the full front. I'm sorry. So guys, what are your thoughts?
Yo, dog, that is mighty crazy. That only crazy in the sense of that I would have never have expected like to see this is how Africa gets missiles, because god damn, this is crazy right here. The North Korea say yeah, put me up, sign me up. Where's that boy? Where's that boy? Where's that little boy America? Hey boy. Thought you were the only one? Like, this is hilarious. Anything to do with fighting America, North Korea's like, yeah, put me there. I want to do it. I want to fight them. I want to. Oh my goodness. And then the other thing, oh my goodness. If you guys know this guy on TikTok, but whenever he speaks and he says anything to do with like let's say the how would I put the sound, that wah sound, oh my god, oh my god, wah wah wah. It's just so funny when he makes that, puts that sound in, or that whatever it is voice. It's hilarious. Anyways, I'm pretty sure it's not on purpose per se, but it could be, who knows. Anyways, this is funny, but yeah, Africa got missiles now. Not just any kind of missiles, they got intercontinental ballistic missile. Yes, that's what they got. On to the next one.
If this is achieved, if Africa becomes united and becomes under a total black rule situation, what then happens to the more than 13 million blacks in America? How do they relate to your Pan-African theory?
The conditions will materially change. In the first place, now Africans the world over will have to be respected. If your home is not in order, certainly you cannot expect respect living in somebody else's house. So the relations will change, and the relationship with Africans themselves will change. We say one of the biggest problems that an oppressed people face is this problem of consciousness. And consciousness is a result of awareness and ability to understand things. Africans all over America think that Africans have never done anything and cannot do anything. Consequently, once Africa is unified and socialist, being one of the richest continents on the face of the earth, should be one of the most powerful. Consequently, their relationship vis-a-vis Africa will change, and vis-a-vis other citizens of the world, other nations and races of the world.
If this is achieved, if Africa...
So that was, I believe it's Kwame Ture. Yeah, Kwame Ture. And he's absolutely right, you know. He's absolutely damn right. You know, if you ever notice the way black people, Africans, or people who are of African descent, in some way, shape, or form, if you ever notice how they're treated wherever they are in the world, it's either fetishized sexually, used and manipulated for their body and their physical ability, or for some token black shit, which it's absolutely not right, because how dare you take everything and treat us like nothing? But that's, you know, a consequence that we had to learn and would never and will never forget. So you guys tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. On to the next one.
Why is it that we are unable to come together and speak our truth and demand that what needs to be done must be done? It's because they defeated us where it matters the most, which is the mind. It started with the missionaries in Africa long before slavery. They were sent by the Roman Catholic Church to subdue the Africans, make them believe that when you get slapped, turn the other cheek, and that your riches are in heaven. So by the time they followed with the colonizers to reap and rape Africa, we were already brainwashed. We were meant to believe everything African was bad and undesirable, and everything European was better. And the same brainwashing continued as our children were taken out of Africa enslaved. It continued on the plantations, color gradations, light-skinned versus dark-skinned, field workers versus kitchen workers. To this day, we suffer from the legacy of slavery and the legacy of colonization. For how long are we going to continue to suffer from this affliction? Why is
So that is Dr. Arikana Chombori Kwao, which this speech that she is giving is absolutely phenomenal. And if you ever get the chance to go and hear it, go and listen to it, because it's a great speech. And what she outlines about how from the moment slavery gets introduced, everything changed. and a people who were their own became nothing. So when we as Africans come together, and not just as Africans, but as what Americans called us, or America's called us, which is black. And once all black people of the world do come together, hey, you can't stop us. You can't stop us at all. And it's high time that we do. On to the next one.
Ezekiel's vision was all about the mothership coming back. Notice how he described the beings on the ship, how radiant they were. He said, like, oh, it was like seeing God. So he fell down. And that's what human beings gonna do. When they see these ships land, and the motherfuckers that get off them look just like us. And that's what a lot of our own gods and goddesses gonna do when these ships start landing down a little lower, and niggas get off looking just like us, but with a way brighter glow. I'm talking about brighter than the sun. You ain't gonna be able to look at them if your frequency ain't high enough. Because we are luminous beings. They ain't been breathing oxygen. They you though, they your family, your cosmic family, but they ain't been breathing oxygen, so they radiant like at our full strength. And niggas gonna fall down and prostrate when they see him, thinking that it's Jesus returning. And they gonna be like, get your goofy ass up. Ain't no Jesus, nigga. We you. Your ass.
His videos always make me laugh, so I included that here because, you know what, let's just finish this.
What's up, nigga? It's Ezekiel's will. Ezekiel.
And basically, he's saying how Ezekiel prophesied of how these beings would come back, and and this is what he's saying here, but he's saying that how they would look like us, but just more radiant, and not like us, but like us. So I felt like it was interesting to put here because, hey, this is the comeback, right?
We are with President Putin, and we want to say to President Putin, it is not us South Africans who refused you from coming into the country. It is Ramaphosa, the coward Ramaphosa, who could not guarantee that we will not arrest Putin. We are Putin, and Putin is us, and we will never support imperialism against President Putin. Comrades, America is threatening us with African Growth and Opportunity Act that if we don't arrest Putin, they are going to take away AGOA. They can take away AGOA and leave us with our sovereignty and leave us with our foreign policy. We must have the capacity. We are with President Putin, and we want to say to President Putin, it is not us South Africans who refused you from coming into the country. It is Ramaphosa, the coward Ramaphosa, who could not guarantee that we will not arrest Putin. We are Putin, and Putin is us, and we will never support imperialism against President Putin. Comrades, America is threatening us with African Growth and Opportunity Act that if we don't arrest Putin, they are going to take away AGOA. They can take away AGOA and leave us with our sovereignty and leave us with our foreign policy. We must have the capacity to take a decision of our own. We call on the President of the People's Republic of China India and Brazil not to come to BRICS summit in solidarity with President Putin. They must say, you touch one of us, you touch all of us.
That, once again, is Julius Malema. I think this video speaks for itself. Hey, this is the comeback. You guys let me know what you guys thought of this speech here, or this part of this speech here.
We must love ourselves. Black people are hated everywhere. You go to America, you go to Britain, you go to Europe, everywhere. How can we be hated all over and still be hated at home, where we're supposed to love one another and struggle together and hold each other's hand and say to those who are suffering, we suffered like you. One day you will get your freedom, and when you get your freedom, we will rejoice together. Let us defend the unity of Africa. Kwame Nkrumah fought for this unity. Julius Nyerere fought for this unity. Gaddafi, Robert Sobukwe, Steve Biko, Winnie Mandela, Chris Hani, Robert Mugabe fought for this unity. Why must we be divided as Africans?
As a continent, we must take charge of our destiny.
Yes.
We must take charge of our security. 60 years after the formation of the Africa Union, we cannot continue to depend on Europe, the EU, the US, China, and I don't know which other place, to manage our own affairs. I think it is time, and that is why we took the decision in DRC. We didn't look for resources from, I don't know which organization. We used Kenyan resources. We agreed that every country should deploy troops using their own resources, because we need to take charge of our region. These are our issues. We need to deal with the security of our region, because if we do not deal with the security of our region, we are foregoing opportunities of investment, of job creation, of growing our economies, and we are basically working against ourselves.
We share in. I think that's extremely important to note, because, as you know, probably, for the longest time, the continents just had so much, you could say, infighting and instability, and caused instability. Why is it caused? Because external forces and powers are protecting their interests. At the cost of what? Not their own. Not their own people. Not anything that would be considered as okay, if there's anything that could be considered as okay in that scenario. Anyways, let's keep going.
Ever be apologetic for standing up for our rights. And there are no better people than us in our own country, in our affairs. Of course, there are people who say, well, we give you our money, so we must tell you what to do and what to be. Well, there comes a point where you say, okay, between my rights and what I want to be and your money, you can have your money. But of course, also that tells you the truth. The hypocrisy, the double standards. They're lies. People tell you they give you their money because they're interested in your well-being. But I can't have my well-being without having my rights. I can't have my well-being when you dictate to me every day what I should do and what I should be and how. So you can't have it. I have my freedom too. I have my freedom to be. You can't take it away. I'll manage my problems. Well, I'll also manage the ones you cause for me. There's no problem. But there is a line you can't cross.
That even as we were going to address an issue of the war which has had a negative impact on the African continent, which is the rise in prices for food, rise in prices for fertilizers, we were clear that we are not going there as beggars. We are not going to ask for a favor to both Ukraine and Russia. We were going there to say, open up the Black Sea Channel so that the grains and the fertilizers should go into the world market. So we were not on a begging mission, even as we are in great need as a continent and all that. That should go to demonstrate that Africa should never be seen as a continent that needs generosity. We want to be treated as equals. Even in the multilateral institutions, we want to be treated as equals. And if our equity is at a low ebb, there must be ways in which that can be addressed. To us, this is very important. Our sovereignty is one of the things that we hold on dearly to. And we demonstrated that very clearly to both President Zelensky and to President Putin when it came to this issue. Even as there were suggestions that, yes, we can donate this, we can donate that, we said, we want you to release these grains and fertilizers to the world market so that the world can trade in these commodities and other issues we can handle in a different way. I wanted to make that point so that it should be understood where Africa has evolved up to. We want to be key players on the world stage, want to be key players even in the financial markets and in the MDBs. Now, these are the positive things.
How is US dollars part of the trade between Djibouti and Kenya? Why? And we are saying that today, Afri-Exim Bank have given us a mechanism where traders in our continent can trade in their goods and services, and the Africa Exim Bank will settle payments in local currency. That is why Kenya champions the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System that is done by our own institution, the Afri-Exim Bank. Why, members? Why is it necessary for us to buy things from Djibouti and pay in dollars? Why? There is no reason.
We must.
So that was that video, and honestly, all those leaders, all those African leaders, and what they said, I want to know what you guys have to say about what they said down in the comments below. I think that as they pretty blatantly put forward, Africa is ready to be a nation on the world stage. Shouldn't be taken for granted or lightly, and shouldn't be taken as basically stupid. The rest of the world and mostly the Western world, they don't really understand what they've caused. Or maybe they do understand and they just are being extremely stupid about it. Because how could you not foresee this? Doesn't make any sense to me at all. Does it make any sense to you? Let me know in the comments down below, and let's get on to the next one.
There will come a time when black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves. Then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something that the black man has to bring an end to himself. There will come a time.
Exactly. We have to take that for ourselves. There's nobody that's gonna give it to us. There's nobody that's gonna hand it to us. There's nobody that's gonna do anything for us. We have the prime example of over the last, we'll say, 700-800 years. So y'all think that what? If we don't come together, we wouldn't be strong? Or maybe it is that you do know that if we do come together, we are unstoppable. So he is right, and it is time for that way of thinking. It is time for us as black people to have our backs, because nobody else is going to have them. Nobody else is going to watch out. I hope that part of this video reaches a broader audience. On to the next one.
Now this video is for educational purposes and educational purposes only. What you see is a South African warlord declaring war against America. Now you cannot be biased and you cannot be a hypocrite with what I'm about to say. You can't be mad that these people are standing up for themselves. You cannot be mad that this man is declaring that his people are going to stand up for what they believe in. You cannot be mad that these people are tired of the oppression. They're tired of the sanctions. They're tired of the invasions. They're tired of the stealing. They're tired of the lies. They're tired of the U.S. diplomats and politicians coming to them with lies and stealing and lying to them and killing their leaders, namely Nelson Mandela. Now, I have to say, these things...
These things... What he has written here as the title here is South Africa and the world are tired of American hypocrisy. I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. The world is tired of American hypocrisy, and it's also tired of the dubious notions that Americans have of themselves when it comes to the world stage. You're not what you think you are. But those are just my words.
Namibia president have spit in the face of Germany. You heard what I said? The president of Namibia have slapped Germany in their face. Now, a lot of you guys do not know, right? The Speaker of the German House of Parliament went to Namibia to tell the Namibia president, Hash Godfrey Jengob, that they don't want Chinese in Namibia. You heard what I said? Germany sent their House of Speaker Parliament to Namibia to tell the president of Namibia the kind of people they want to come to Namibia. Now, listen to the video and hear what Namibia president said.
In Namibia, for example, the number of Chinese people living here in the meantime is 4 times as much as, for example, the German community. And so far, it's not precisely the same what takes place all over the world. There are differences. And what I'm...
Mr. Speaker, what is your problem with that? Why does it become your problem? It looks like it's a more European problem than our problem. You're so sorry for us.
Laugh at him.
See, Chinese will never come and play around here. Yes, Germans don't allow to do that. Which Germans are doing, by the way. We talk about Chinese. We allow Germans to come offer visas here. Red carpet. Our people are harassed in Germany.
Exactly.
Only passport holders in Germany. And you come in here, Germans come in here as they want. So why Chinese talk about Germans? How we are treating us there? Chinese don't treat us like that. Diplomatic passport. We are coming back from Geneva. These people were held up at the airport. Just now, last week, in Germany. We know how we will handle our own country.
Thank you.
Sorry for us. Absolutely, yeah.
Namibia.
We know what will handle our own country. Like, what are you doing, man? Trying to tell the president of Namibia there's so many Chinese, there's 4 times, like you even have a figured out of like how many times more Chinese are, how many more Chinese there are in Namibia than Germans? And by that he just means white. It's like go suck yourself. Honestly, like, who do you guys think you freaking are? Who do you people think you are to have that kind of gall? Anyways, I think we'll do a couple or a few more and then we'll call it a night.
Kichima, Simran Kondo, Alliance, shoot to kill, Namaza, kill the poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer, brr, pa, pa, brr, pa, pa, attention.
We must unite now.
That was amazing. I think we'll hear it again later down in these videos, but there it is. That was a beautiful chant. Remember it. Keep it in your minds. Brr pa. All right.
We must unite now. We must have one army. We must have one currency. We must have one foreign policy. We must be united. And I can hear the Osagie for saying,
I do not want to be the leader of that country. I simply want unity. And I'm saying that we must live here with one united government. They listen not to the Osagie. I can still hear those immortal words of the Osagie for Kwame Nkrumah, telling his Ghanaian peoples that the independence of Ghana means nothing if the rest of Africa is not independent. I can hear the Osagie for Kwame Nkrumah.
Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah. What he says in this speech is very true, you know, and that if there was ever a time for Africa to unite, it is now. It is now. And with what's happening in Niger, Africa better follow suit quick and better back each other up, because that is how you'll change the course of the future.
As far as I'm concerned, since we met you people 500 years ago, look at us. We've given everything. You are still taking. It's true. I mean, where will the whole Western world be without Africa? Our cocoa, our timber, our gold, our diamonds, our platinum, our whatever. Everything you are is us. I am not saying it, it's a fact. And in return for all of this, what have we got? Nothing. Anti-personnel indoctrination against ourselves. If you go and cook your horrible diseases like AIDS, you say it is us. You brought us tuberculosis. We didn't have this big cough until white people came here. In exchange for Africa giving Europe 500 solid years of our people, I mean not Europe, the Western world, of our human beings to work your canes, to dig your gold, to take in gold itself, diamond, I mean, you know, fish, peanuts, palm oil, everything. In exchange for that, we have got nothing. Nothing. And you know it. Nothing. And you look upon, you know, white folks look upon us like monkeys. It is true. It's in your literature. Some of your best thinkers have said this about us. Have you heard of all these Germans? Have you heard? Okay. Yes. They said, Lord Burton, people like that, they said, we don't even have the brain of animals. That's what we've got from you people.
But don't you think that this is over now?
Over where? Is it over? Who said that AIDS came from the green monkey? Is it over? Is it over?
Well, if this is your impression, do you think that you can ever forgive us?
It's not a question of forgiveness. I have nothing against you. My point is that you did and you are doing for your survival what is necessary. We can't blame you for that. The fact that we didn't do enough for our own survival and we are still not doing enough for our survival, that is not your problem.
It isn't their problem. She's absolutely right. But then what becomes their problem is when we realize it's not their problem. And when we realize that changes the playing field, because you realize, they don't care. They don't give a shit. And I mean, the history says it. The history proves it. And all these pseudo-alternate historians distorting the view of what, distorting and not really giving a better picture or a clearer picture, but in fact inciting more confusion. Anyways, she's absolutely right. 500 years and it's been nothing but shit, bullshit, shittier bullshit, and strife, and calamity, and destruction, and pillaging, and rape, and all of it. And it continues. It continues. Believe it or not. I think we'll do a couple more before calling it a night.
The Organization of African Union, created on May 25th, 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, was part of an effort to circumvent efforts by Kwame Nkrumah to build a single union of African states. And instead we come up with an Organization of African Union that codified the colonial borders that were created by Europe in 1884 and 85. We have to be able to break out of this, but it's going to take revolution in order to do this. African revolution in order to do this. African revolution that will destroy imperialism and the world economy that's responsible for the growing immiseration of the masses of people around the world. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Told y'all at the beginning there. It seems like the African Union and the ECOWAS are front runners or front players for these Western organizations and powers. This guy, his name is Omali Yeshitela. Omali Yeshitela. So, as you heard, the African Union codified the colonial borders that were created in 1884, 1885. And this means that even in absolvement or decolonization, you could say, there was no decolonization. This imperial world that this imperial rule that Africa has also been under from these European nations, how do you think it became an imperial rule? How do you think it became that it was imperialism? You think that setting up your national companies in places where you're nowhere near your home country or anything like that, and you are able to now extract resources that you need at your leisure, and you even get to decide the pricing and everything of these resources, and the people of the nation whom you're taking these resources from, they get to say nothing? Bitch.
Let us stay in Africa and build Africa. I mean, what does Africa lack in terms of resources? What do we lack? If it is solar energy, which continent is capable of producing solar energy to light this continent and the entire earth? If it is hydroelectricity, what can we not generate? If it is minerals, if we wanted to make bombs, if we should, where do they get their uranium from? If it is timber, what don't we have? If it is human resources, we are 2 billion of us. And we are people who have intelligence. And yet we are kept in a constant state of conflict. The Europeans, the French persuading their former colonies that they are more French than they are Yoruba. They are more French than they are Wolofs and Mandinkas. The British persuading us that we are more British than we are Ibibio or Yoruba. And of course, when we find ourselves in that schizophrenic state, then we engage in internal conflict and they sell their arms to us. Tell me, which African country makes guns? None.
Exactly. None. And this is Kwame Nkrumah speaking about where Africans should be. And we should be in Africa. We should be home. I want to be home, to be honest. I want to go back and stay there, sip on my coconut water, and just have a good life. Because over here, well, it's a different story. And I think we'll make the last one, the next video, the last one.
This message is for my brothers and sisters from the US Caribbean. If you miss the year of return to go to Ghana, don't worry. The president of Kenya, President William Ruto, is giving you lifetime free visa to enter Kenya, meaning every black person is welcome to Kenya. And he says it clear, Kenya is your home, it's the cradle of humanity. So no more excuses. You have a second option. Come to Africa.
That's a good message. But we won't make this video the last video. We'll make the next video the last video. But this was a good message, and then I hope whoever sees this, take advantage of this. Look into it. And let me know what you guys think about the last few videos we've watched in the comments down below. And on to the next one. And hopefully the last one.
Kichi, kichi, kichima. Simran Konto Alliance. Shoot to kill. Hamaza. Kill the poor. The farmer. Kill the poor. The farmer. Brr, pa. Pa. Brr, pa. Pa. Attention. Kichi, kichi, kichi.
Yep, that is the anthem. That is the anthem. And that's all for tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed these videos. I hope you got a little bit more insight into, one, what's going on in Niger, and two, with the continent overall, and with how things are for Africans. At this time, as we always do, let's get our bonds, let's get our blunts, let's get our spliffs, let's get our vapes, let's get our coffee, let's get our OJ. Let's take that last hit. In peace.